Welcome to Real Estate Exposed, helping people in San Diego buy, sell, and refinance their biggest investment, delivering you timely truths, exposing important issues, and helping you get into the right home. Here are your hosts, real estate expert Daniel Beer, top-ranked professional by sales volume at one of San Diego's largest brokerages, and his mortgage partner, Todd Pianin, with over $2 billion in funded loans.
$2 billion in funded loans. My man Todd Pianin, co-host here of Real Estate Exposed, Home Street Bank, and I'm Daniel Beer of Keller Williams Realty, actually.
Big news, big news.
So we just made a brokerage change, gone over to Keller Williams, and the Daniel Beer Group is absolutely thrilled about it. You can find us directly, okay? If you're looking for us, I'll remind you, do not look for Keller Williams. What you want to look for is Daniel Beer Group, whether you're Googling it or calling the number directly, 800-676-2420. That's also where you can connect with Todd and his team at Home Street Bank for any mortgage-related questions. And listen, a lot of this isn't about you wanting to buy anything, sell anything, or refinance. A lot of it has to do with planning, with trying to get ahead of what's happening and to make sure that you're positioned properly for whenever the right time is for you. So that number to connect with us for any related question is 800-676-2420, and it's a great Sunday. My man Todd here is fired up.
I am fired up. I want to know, first off, though, this had to be a long, hard process for you to move your team over to Keller Williams. I mean, what's with the change? Can we talk about it? Or are we just like, what's the plan? I mean,
listen, we had a wonderful company at Windermere. We had wonderful relationships. The people there, good people. Good people.
Great ownership.
Absolutely. And our business grew in a big way while there, but it was just time for us to make a change. We really are beautifully positioned now in a very strategic location where we can get up and down the freeways, get to the coast, get inland, get south, get north really quickly from a very central location. And we're just thrilled to be part of the team there. There's a great energy in the office, and hopefully we'll be able to provide a lot of value to them as well. We are coming in now. Look, Keller Williams is the biggest real estate brand in the country, in North America.
There's
over 100,000 associates, and we are coming in as the number one producing team in not just San Diego County, but also in all of the Southern California, region. And so we're really very excited to be able to say that. That's based on actual dollar volume sold at $102.9 million, closed business last year for our little team. And it has to do with positioning and being able to use, whether if you're a seller, how do you use buyer psychology in your favor and create a negotiating advantage? And we teach you that at our workshops, which are actually coming up May 16th, 17th, and 18th.
Which we have booked.
May 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Which we have booked all across the county.
Yeah, we're going to be in East County. We're going to be in Rancho Bernardo. We're going to be in UTC. There's going to be a very convenient location to you, so make sure you connect with us on that. And if you're a buyer, when you're working with a specialized team, you just get such a different result. What most people go through is this. They're buying a home. They're calling signs. They're walking into open houses, or they're just looking on Zillow or Trulia or any of the other websites just like anybody else.
But I've always been told, Dan, that you should actually write your offer up with the listing agent. You'll get a better deal on the house.
And Todd is being very sarcastic in saying that, okay? Because here's what happens. But that is the other thing people do. Todd's right. Most buyers are out there finding homes on Zillow or any of these other websites, and then they go and try to connect directly with the agent representing the seller. A very, very flawed, just so many pitfalls in that, because you're essentially hiring the seller's representation and expecting them to represent you equally. That's so far outside of what really will happen. But the point being is that
they're representing their commission. Basically, right? I mean,
the buyer thinks that they're going to, get the commission that the agent is not going to have to pay or not have to earn, that they can pass it on, but the agent actually is excited to make twice the commission. The seller, by the way, they also want savings there.
Right.
Who's going to get it?
Right.
All right. It's just about as flawed as the for sale by owner logic. But most buyers are out there just seeing what has publicly hit the market that everybody else knows about.
Right.
Well, when you're working with a buyer specialist like Brian Danny at the Daniel Beer Group, when you're working with a buyer specialist who spends their entire waking hours simply focused on their buyers, they don't have to worry about the other 10 things that happened in order to run a real estate business.
Right.
They don't have to they're not sitting down with sellers and going through listings and having to hone in those skills.
Right.
They're not having to figure out how the marketing gets done and how to work our operations and how to build out our websites and all the other things that people do. Well, when you have an agent that's wearing 10 hats, all they can show you is the next home that hit Zillow. When you have a specialist that is focused on simply spending all their time and energy on finding you what you want, whether or not it's publicly on the market, now you have somebody that can dig in and find that property for you. The fact that it's on the market to the rest of the public is irrelevant. They're going to actually get you ahead of everybody else, which also gives you as a buyer a negotiating advantage. So we're really excited to, with all we have to offer, bring that to the Keller Williams family. We've been really well welcomed. And
you're the listing specialist on the team.
I am the listing specialist on the team, correct?
So
along with Joe McShane.
So one of the things that upsets Brian and I is that what you'll do, even if Brian's bringing you an offer as your buyer specialist, you don't always take his offer. I would say probably 3 times out of 10 you'll take Brian's offer.
It has nothing
because you're representing their sellers.
It has nothing to do with it being Brian's offer.
What I'm explaining though is that you play Switzerland. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable.
Heck no, I don't play Switzerland. I play absolutely full balls of the wall, full court press for the sellers.
Correct.
Just the way Brian does for his buyers.
But there's a lot of teams out there, Dan, that I'm going to say this. I'm calling it out. There's a lot of teams out there that say they have buyer specialists and they say they have listing specialists, but when their buyer's agent brings a offer to their listing team, they maneuver their way into the deal.
Look, everybody has their own set of ethics and morals and guiding principles on how they think to best serve their clients. But what we've done has led to $102.9 million in closed business last year. Mm-hmm. This year to date, we're at 54 homes under contract. We have a process that works, it's proven, and it's not something that is theoretical or just empty words. It's actually something with a massive track record behind it. We want to put it behind you. Give us a phone call at 800-676-2420. That's 800-676-2420.
You also do something a lot of people don't do, Dan. I mean, and we have to get this out here because this is real estate exposed. Again, I just told you that his buyer's agents will write offers on his listings, and he'll still do what's best for the buyer. But did you know what he does on his listings that is, I would tell you, is not the norm? He has a cancellation clause. Most people take their listings for 3 to 6 months, which means I've done this in the past, before I worked with you, Dan, that I wrote a listing agreement up with somebody, and you're stuck with somebody for 3 to 6 months. Like, it could be a really, really bad marriage. It's not a good, it could be a bad experience.
I call those hostage agreements. When you enter into a listing agreement with an unconfident listing agent, that's why you're in a hostage situation for the next 6 months. You better pray and hope that it goes the way you want. It's too easy for a listing agent to sit across the table from you, promise you a price, promise you process, promise you service and communication, and for it to not come through just the way they wanted it to.
Right.
And, especially when it comes to price, sellers, we just had a conversation actually on the way here with a potential seller, and we were talking, she was just talking about her listing price and how she won't budge on it. But, it's anybody can just give you a listing. Anybody can list property, but can they sell it?
Right.
And are they confident they'll do so much to the tune that they'll actually let you out of your agreement for any reason, at any time, and without penalty? So our listing agreements, the way we write them, we put it right in writing that the seller can cancel any time for any reason without penalty. You cannot be held hostage. And I actually use this word purposefully because, Todd, I see people held hostage.
Right.
I go sometimes that people will call me to their home and say, Dan, we want to make a change. We want to list our home with you. We just seem to not be able to get out. I've seen agents.
How do we get out of our contract?
I've seen agents force them to charge, to force them to pay, write them $1,000 check or write them a $2,000 check. They'll string them out saying, hey, I have a buyer coming tomorrow. It's nonsense.
It's not cool. And so that's why I want to go back to our mantra. We're real estate exposed. And I want to tell you that we're not afraid to take your calls, answer your questions. And if you have problems like that, you need to reach out to Dan and I because we can help you solve those issues. And what we, what I always say that Dan's changing the way real estate is conducted here in San Diego, and he really is. He's making realtors step up to the bar and do a much better job for you as a client. And it's unbelievable because most people, because I know back in the old days, because I've been around 20 years. Dan always makes fun of the fact that I'm like 10 years older than him. So I remember in the old days, people would sign those listing agreements, and they'd be like 6 months or 12-month listing agreements.
I've seen 12-monthers.
Yep, and it's like they just look at it and they go, "It's money in the bank, baby. It's money in the bank." And you come in and you go, "If you don't like me, if you don't like what I'm doing, if you don't like my process, let's walk away." That's just not normal. That's just not normal in our marketplace right now. That's why it's also imperative for you to go to our home selling seminars, because Dan's going to give away all his tools for free.
So that's the best place to connect with us, right, Todd?
Agreed.
If you want to actually get in the same room with us and let's go through what the market looks like today, what the current opportunity is, and how to best position yourself for sale to take advantage of buyer psychology, then turn it in your favor to create a negotiating advantage for you as a seller. The home selling workshops, they are coming back May 17th, 18th, and 19th. It's only the second time it'll happen this entire year, and we want you there with us. Call in, connect with us. We're happy to see you. We'll get you your free tickets, and this is the first announcement we've made, so their tickets are available to you right now, and you'll be room for you and a guest. And we do serve lunch courtesy of Home Street Bank. The number's 800-676-2420. 800-676-2420. And I'm not the only one changing the way things are done around here. So are the San Diego Padres changing the way baseball is played or not played. We're going to touch on that coming back.
True that.
We're back with you Sunday morning in San Diego on what has been a rainy weekend.
It has been a rainy weekend, a rainy week for sure. I can tell you that much. One of the things I want to talk about, though, is Elon Musk.
Talk to me about this.
This guy, did you realize, I mean, this guy has gone from rags to riches to rags to riches. And now a car you can't even get for 2 years, he sold 385,000 of them.
So this is brilliant, right? If you haven't heard, it's related, it's relevant because it's brilliant business. Tesla is coming out with the Model 3 sometime at the end, mind you, of 2017.
Right.
Most deliveries won't happen until 2018.
Right.
They're taking $1,000 deposits. Okay, and this is an indication also of our economy, by the way. What does consumer confidence look like?
Right.
Well, you have 325,000 people so far that
385,000.
1,000 people.
Yep.
385,000 people that have volunteered a $1,000 check for the right to be in line to get a car from Tesla 2 years from now.
That's not even built yet.
The thing doesn't even fully exist yet.
Right.
I mean, they only have a prototype out right now that they've unveiled with the body.
And you're one of the people.
I am one of the people. I put my deposit down. Listen,
but here's a question.
Take over this market, Todd.
Here's a question that Katie and I had, my assistant in the office, because she's thinking about doing it too. So, but it only goes 19 miles or something like that?
Correct. Well, we'll see. They're going to end up having different engine options where it'll go, or different battery options where it'll go further and not further. But 200 is what they've put out so far.
So she's scared. What if she's driving and she runs out of juice?
Well, it's not your car that you're going to drive to San Francisco with. Now, having said that, they have these charging stations, and I don't even know a lot about that yet.
Right.
But, they have X amount of charging stations, and it's several, tens and tens of thousands of charging stations that are out there, and California being a hotbed for where they're located.
Right.
They're actually talking about by the time this car comes out that they'll have doubled or tripled the amount of stations. So this is essentially like a gas station for electric.
Okay.
But you should have one at your car.
Will it be free?
Don't know the answer to that, but you should have. I mean, I'll be putting one in my house that'll be charged through my solar system.
Right.
And ultimately, it's still a car where you just have to know where you're going that day.
Right, but if you go all across the county all the time.
Yeah, but I never drive 200 miles in a day.
Never.
Never.
Okay.
I mean, unless I'm going to actually drive to, LA and back.
Got it.
In which case we're going to be taking...
But if you went from your office to Chula Vista, from Chula Vista to Ramona to Vista, I mean, you've driven across the... I mean, I got to believe in one day you've probably done 200 miles.
That would be true on a very aggressive day, so I'd have to be careful about that and then take my Prius if that were to be the case.
Right.
But in any case, that doesn't take anything away from the fact that these guys have figured out a way to raise $385 million, right? Because $385,000 $1,000 deposits.
Right.
That's $385 million interest-free that Tesla's been able to raise, and then they're using our money to build their car and then sell it back to us.
It's crowdfunding.
It is unbelievable what they have done,
yep.
and it's a big show of confidence on what the market or how the market feels in terms of consumer confidence and its willingness to spend.
Right.
Now, these guys have already taken over the luxury class.
The Tesla S.
They're already the highest selling luxury, high-end luxury vehicle.
Right.
Now they're definitely going to take over this mid-range vehicle.
They've got the what's it called, with the wheel, the doors that come up. It's like
the SUV version.
Right. Have you sat in that?
No, I haven't. It'll be fun to see. Well, hopefully I'll enjoy my car 2 years from now.
I hope I get to be one of the first people driven besides your wife and your son in that car.
Absolutely. So you're listening to Real Estate Exposed here on News Radio 600 KOGO. Todd and I were downtown at a place where real estate has exploded over the course of the last decade and a half, much due to the development that went in with the Padres Stadium. And we were downtown on Monday, actually, with a lot of really nice folks here from iHeartMedia.
Even our producer, Mikey, was there.
Did he? I didn't see Mikey.
I saw Mikey.
So we were downtown celebrating opening day.
Right.
But really, I just couldn't help but look around at all of the buildings, all the condos, all the business, all the activity, all of the thousands and thousands of people pouring into San Diego, to downtown San Diego, because opening day wasn't like this when it was at Qualcomm.
Right.
But downtown, I mean, you had closed streets for pedestrians. It was a celebration like none other. Beautiful day.
It was. I mean, for a Monday, I mean, the energy level was unreal.
But all that tax revenue, all of that business, all of those condo sales, all of that, which makes this a world-class city, very much driven by that Padres Stadium. Which
let's not talk about the Padres.
We won't talk. Yeah. Who gets? I mean. So
they're making all kinds of records right now, Dan.
The record for being the first team shut out on back-to-back days on opening weekend.
Yes.
But when you start looking at a Charger Stadium, only a number of blocks over from that,
right?
What an amazing place! If this comes through, you're talking about absolutely unequivocally. There is no downtown scene like this. There probably isn't already one like this in America now to date. I mean, of course, excluding like a place like Manhattan.
Or L.A., because you got Staples Center and you got the Nokia Center down there. I mean, and their downtown's been revitalized a little bit about it.
Ours, I would...
And I think this football stadium is going in by the Staples Center and by there.
That's a home... Yeah, that's... But today, I'd much rather spend time in downtown San Diego.
Right.
That is... It was just an amazing day to celebrate, not baseball, but to celebrate our city. And
it was a beautiful day.
That the voters will allow us to, well, first I hope we have a chance to vote.
Yes.
And then I hope that we have a chance to expand on that with this Chargers Stadium. So this program is very much about helping you build wealth through real estate and other investments when those other investments make the most sense. When do you let go of your home? When you hold on to the home? When you refinance into a smarter loan?
Right.
Okay, those are all the things that we cover, and the place to talk to us and reach out to us directly is at 800-676-2420. 800-676-2420. But before we go to break, because we only have 60 seconds here, before we go to break, a message to you if you're still renting. This is coming right now, a recent story published in the first rung on the ladder to economic opportunity in housing. Okay, this is by the Urban Land Institute in a joint project with the MacArthur Foundation, and they stated that the ladder to economic success can stretch only so high without the asset-building power of home ownership. Home equity provides Americans with the ability to send their children to college with less student loan debt and is the primary source of funds for retirement. Half of the assets of Americans over age 55 are in their home. Where will you be if you're without a home? This is Real Estate Exposed. News Radio 600 KOGO, iHeartMedia. Welcome back. It is Real Estate Exposed. News Radio 600 KOGO here with Daniel Beer, the Daniel Beer Group, and Todd. This is just getting weird, Michael Smith. And Todd Behan into Home Street Bank. Listen, we go through things just like all of you do. And despite knowing, this is going to be a segment of confession. Despite knowing how difficult it is to be a landlord, and there are so many considerations.
Right.
What are you going to do to fix the property up to maximize value? How are you going to collect rent? What happens if they don't pay? What are your policies? What about pets? Are you allowing smokers? Are you allowing, how many people to live in the unit? What, you have to pay your taxes, get the tax payment done, the constant HOA fee if you have an HOA. You have to be very organized to take care of it. And so here I am.
I've never been a landlord, Dan, so I'm kind of, you are a landlord, right?
I am, and I've been in the past, sold that property, bought into it being a landlord again. Right. Most of my investments are in like apartment syndicates where I'm only,
I've done that.
I'm just invested into it, but I don't have to actively manage it.
Right.
It's done for me. Of course, I pay a fee for that to happen, but rightfully so. It's worth it. But here I go, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm in real estate. I know what's going on. I have a staff. I have assistants. I have a business where I can, leverage some of this out, and let's go buy a condo. So I closed on a condo, a really nice studio. And by the way, if you're looking for a place to rent, please give us a call. A really nice studio in North Park.
Right.
It's on really great place. It's on the Hillcrest side of Florida. So, really exciting on paper. But here's what I forgot about when I had previously been a landlord on a property I actually had to manage. I forgot what it takes. It's a full-time job. I mean, there's certain renovations that have to happen. I have to go get appliances. My washer dryer, I have to switch that out to one that actually works. I have to go in and if I actually want to maximize the investment, I have to change the countertops. I have to do certain things to the property that are going to bring the best return.
Right.
And where am I? If a professional management company, which is what I just should have done to begin with, had taken this over, this thing would have been rented in a heartbeat because it's a phenomenal property. But where am I? 6 to 8 weeks later, I've lost track of time. It's still vacant. I haven't done a thing with it. I forgot I even had the thing for like the first 3 weeks that I owned it. Just didn't do anything with it. I thought somehow my team would take care of it, even though that's not their job.
Right.
We can handle an unbelievable amount of workload selling homes.
Right.
But
it's an unbelievable workload.
Being a landlord
is different.
It's an animal of its own.
Right.
You have to be aware of this. If you're thinking about, some of you are thinking about going in and buying investment property, and that's great. Just have your plan together. Make sure you have the time to get it done, or to have it professionally managed. Or if you're but where really gets me, a lot of you own a home or you own a condo. You're thinking about selling it, but you're also thinking about turning it into a rental.
Right.
And a lot of the time, most of the time, I'm going to say, the people I talk to that are thinking about turning their property into a rental, they're only doing so because they already own it. But they would never go out and actually buy the property to turn it into a rental.
Investment property.
It's not, if you wouldn't literally go out, buy your property at current market value from yourself, right? If you wouldn't actually go out and write a check for it today at current market value, then the moment you decide to invest that or turn that investment into a rental, you've essentially purchased the property at today's value. You've committed the dollars you have in your equity. You've committed them at today's market value for that property to create a certain return with a certain cost of management. And it is a big job. You should absolutely not take that lightly.
Well, you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing from a lot of people, though, that they're putting their houses on Airbnb, VRBO, and they're making a truckload of money on that. I mean, what's your take on that? I mean,
it is an incredible avenue, and it's ridiculous what some people are making doing that.
Right.
Now, most people in the condo world, because a lot of people like to do that downtown, most people in the condo world are actually in violation of their HOA.
So because you have to have long-term renters in your complex?
Most HOAs will not allow a renter for anything less than a month.
Got it.
And some are starting to expand on that regulation and make it even longer. So
the condo you just bought, and it's a great area where you bought it. And is your condo association say you can't put it on like Airbnb or VRBO?
Frankly, I don't know, and I didn't look because it was never in my plan to do so. I'm going to be renting it out on a yearly basis, hopefully to somebody that'll stay, ongoing for next 5 years or whatever it may be.
Got it.
But it is something you have to know also. I've seen buyers get ahead of themselves, get into an investment property that they're planning on doing a VRBO or an Airbnb, and basically what that is a temporary, it's kind of like a 3-day rental or a 1-week rental where you rent it out furnished, and it's essentially like a hotel room.
Right.
Well, most HOAs in condo buildings would hold you in violation of the HOA, and you're going to be facing a fine should you choose to do that. And especially and specifically downtown San Diego here, they are getting extremely vigilant of that. So
is that to protect the hotels, you think, or is that just they just don't want the weird people coming in and out of their house, out of their complexes?
And not that the people are necessarily weird. It's not, they might be perfectly fine people, but it's that the people that live in these buildings that are there on a full-time basis living their lives, they get uncomfortable when they see people, coming in and out every few days with suitcases, and there's always somebody, they always have a new neighbor.
Right.
Right. And that's not necessarily what they signed up for when they purchased the property.
You want to borrow butter from Mike all the time.
You would hope you have your neighbor as a guy like Mike, our producer. You could go over and, knock on his door. Right. But it just makes people uncomfortable. And so most HOAs and most condo associations view that as something that could reduce the value of the building. Though the reality is, from a value perspective, there's plenty of argument to be made on why it might raise the value.
It would raise it, right? Because
rents are much higher.
Right.
And when rents are higher,
the value, the property value is higher.
Absolutely, because it can produce more income. So
it just seems to me, if you have a full-time job and you have a rental property and you're putting it on Airbnb and you're doing it on VRBO, and let's say they're in for 3 days or a week or maybe 2 weeks in the summertime or what have you. I mean, it just seems like a lot of work. I mean, it's almost like a full-time job. You got to get the place cleaned. You got to get everything done after they leave.
It is a full-time job. I mean, and if not full-time, it feels like a full-time job if you have a full-time job.
Right.
All right. And especially if you're somebody like me where you have more than a full-time job, I'd probably put in a solid 60 hours a week.
Right.
It is a big deal to own anything, even a small little studio somewhere like in North Park that is so rentable.
Right.
So it's just a word of warning for whatever it's worth to you. Make sure you do your homework, have a plan, and know exactly how you're going to manage it. Do not underestimate what it takes.
So when you bought that place in Hillcrest North Park, Dan, did you like build like a spreadsheet around it, like saying, okay, this is what I'm going to spend on it, this is how much I should be able to make on it, here's my 3 to 5 year plan on it? I mean, do you like go really diligently and deep and like go, this is, this, I want to get a good rate of return, this is what I'm looking for, that kind of thing? Or
on the financial analysis side, yes, I did all of that. Absolutely. How much is it really going to cost? A lot of would-be landlords, and if you're thinking about buying any kind of investment property, I see this all too often where all most people are calculating is, what's my mortgage, what's the rent?
Right.
Sometimes people will calculate, what's my mortgage, what's the taxes, what's the HOA, what's the rent?
Right.
But what they're never calculating, and they always seem to miss and underestimate, is that you're going to have vacancy periods. You're going to have insurance. You're going to have rehab costs. You're going to have maintenance costs. So typically, there's a gross amount of underestimating cost versus the rent that will come in. And most people paint a pretty rosy picture of what they're going to see with their investment property from a cash flow perspective. And I would actually tell you, cash flow is not really where your main point of focus should be.
It's the equity piece.
Yeah, well, look, if you're a massive investor,
right,
if you're investing millions and millions and millions of dollars, cash flow is going to be phenomenal, and it's critical.
Right.
But when you're going in and investing, $100,000 or $60,000 into a property. So let's say you invest $60,000.
Right.
And you get a 10% return, which should be huge cash on cash return. But if you got yourself up to a $10,000 return, or excuse me, a 10% return, that's still $6,000.
$6,000 a year.
$6,000 a year. Now, no one's saying $6,000 a year is bad money.
Right.
But $6,000 a year isn't for the most part, going to change your overall financial standing if you've already been in the position to invest the $60,000 to begin with.
Right.
So it's really appreciation that we're after in Southern California, just as long as it's not costing us on a cash flow basis on a month to month.
So I have a question to ask. So like your buyer specialist, Dan, do they, like the spreadsheet you used to kind of create that? Do they sit down if they have an investment property buyer? Will they help them through that process too?
If you're thinking about buying an investment property, just give us a phone call. You're going to talk with our buyer specialist who, yes, will walk you through the entire financial analysis and bring you to reality on what it's really going to cost. And then, of course, you're going to connect with somebody like Todd at Home Street Bank, get the real numbers in place, because it all should start on paper. If you're buying right, you're going to make money. You make money or you lose money when you buy, not when you sell. The number to connect with us as we go into break here is 800-676-2420, 800-676-2420. And we also will remind you that those home selling workshops are coming up. So if you want your tickets, give us a shout. We're going to be right back. Hey, we're back with you in our final segment on, regardless of what they'll tell you, in our opinion, a great Sunday morning.
It's always fun hanging out with you, Dan.
So, few things happening. One is the home selling workshops, they're coming up.
Yes, we really need you to. We're giving you guys a ton of notice now, and we've expanded the areas. We've gone to all 3 counties, basically. I can't tell you that every time we do these, we get better and better at them, and I can't tell you that it's free, and it's all about education. It's not a sales pitch. I was driving in the car this morning listening to someone like pitch on be part of my team and flip houses and all this stuff. That's not what Dan does and what we do at the home selling seminars. Dan actually teaches you why he sold so many homes and put so many homes under contract year to date and last year, and made the top 150 in the Wall Street Journal, and is #1 in Keller Williams in Southern California. He's giving you all the tools for free, and we don't ask for the business. What are those dates, Dan?
May 17th, 18th, and 19th. Get your free tickets. You're going to learn how to use buyer psychology in your favor to create a negotiating advantage. You're going to learn all about the 5-day blitz trademark process that we employ to get those results that we do. We're going to go over staging techniques. We're going to go over home improvements that you should be doing and not be doing in order to prepare your home for sale. By the way, a lot of you might not be even thinking about selling your home for somewhere 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line, 12 months down the line. This is where you get ready. This is where we're going to be going through the actual process we use step by step to dominate in this market, and we're going to just hand you the system.
You hear how fired up he gets about these things? And even Mikey went to the last one, our producer, and he actually walked out of there and said, that was a great presentation. What's the number, Dan, to sign up for it?
The number for your free tickets, 800-676-2420. This is the first place we are announcing this May workshop, 800-676-2420. And that is going to be really nice to have you there. Before we go to break, or before we end the show, I should say, Todd Pianin and his team at Home Street, 2 deals saved this week. Okay, he says he doesn't only want to be known as the saver. Well, he has saved 2 more deals, Todd. I mean, you're growing your own reputation. Plenty of deals where we just give them the deal right off the front. The buyer chooses to engage them. Everything goes smooth. But sometimes the buyer decides to go to Chase or to Wells or to any of these other banks, and they get these approvals that aren't fully vetted, and then things fall apart. So we just had 2. One of them is closing today.
One of them was
one of them just closed.
Closed on Wednesday. The other one closed on Friday. But I mean, one of them was a listing of yours.
One of them was a listing. But we ask and we teach you this at the workshops, by the way. We will always cross-qualify the buyers that make offers on our listings. We're going to cross-qualify them with our own lender in order for us to know that they truly are approved, because not every pre-approval letter is made equal.
Right. This is true. And you guys, I mean, These guys asked for an extension. I mean, you guys really stepped up to the plate, came back to me and said, and I know your seller was anxious to get the staging out and wanted to get everything done. And we got it closed on Friday, and I'm super happy for the buyer on that one. And then on Wednesday, we got a guy in. He was 90 days in escrow or something.
Again, in escrow, had all kinds of personal issues. We're just going to leave it there to not reveal any kind of identity. But there was, again, there was a big bank that told them yes. They ended up then telling them no.
Right.
Then they ended up finally coming back and begging for the deal back, but there was going to have to be a big delay. Todd came in, closed it quickly. If you want to find out why, okay, right here, right on iHeart radio station, Eddie on KGB, why does he endorse Todd and his team at Home Street Bank? Find out, give us a phone call, or connect with us for free home selling workshop tickets. The number's 800-676-2420.
So it's all I can say to you. It's been a great Sunday, Dan, and thank you very much for the endorsement. We had a great couple weeks. Listen, you can always reach us, like Dan said, 800-676-2420. I work for Home Street Bank, a member of the FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS ID number 304014. See you at the home selling seminars, and talk to you next Sunday.
Daniel Beer Group's looking forward to having you.